Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
প্রথম সপ্তাহে অনেক প্রোডাক্টিভ ছিল আমাদের চ্যানেলের জন্য. We managed to scoop up 3 subscribers, and one of those subscribers is very close to my heart, my mom. মায়ের দোয়া আছে মানে সব আছে. Inshallah, I'll make you proud.
Is brought to you by মায়ের দোয়া. মায়ের দোয়া.
So, since this is just the second video on my channel, and I'm still figuring it out, like what my audience wants to see, what my audience wants to know, and learn from me, let's talk about life in general today. What's a viable cheat code to life? Is there even a possibility to completely rule out the concept of failure? To rule out the concept of starting over again from life? An easy solution to that question or idea would be to change our perceptions about life. And the best examples of implementing strategies to achieve a goal can be found in the realm of sports and games. So if I had to personify our goals as the other side of a board, and we had to move blocks to get to our goals and achieve them, and to move through those blocks and to bypass the obstacles that come through, we had to implement a number of strategies. The closest game that would come to our mind that follows a similar format would be chess. So in that way, chess defines the rules we need to go through life. So in that way, chess is a game that comes the nearest to defining how life works. Now that we've established how chess relates to our lives, in this video, we're going to dive deep into the philosophy of chess and the principles that relate it to life, and then I'm going to break those principles down and explain how you can implement them and change your perspective, hopefully, about life in general. And I'm also going to address the average 20-year-old kid who's still uncertain about his career, who's worrying if they'll succeed or not, if they'll achieve their goals or not. So if that sounds interesting, let's get into it. So most people say that our lives begin when we leave home or when we move out from our parents. That's when we get to learn about how the world works. That's when we get to take our own decisions. But I'd like to argue on that basis. I'd like to say that we've been taking our own decisions even before we got out of home, even before we started living by ourselves. Like from the time we were 7 or 5 years old, we had to make decisions what we were going to do on the day. Like we were still making decisions to approach a goal that we wanted to achieve, but we were just unaware of it. And then as we grow older, we're faced with adversities, we're faced with failures, we're faced with rejections. That's when the 5-7-year-old kid in us gets shocked and stunned. They're like, they never had to face this before. And then our perceptions about life in general changes. We view it as something like it's filled with failures, it's filled with all negative emotions. We can't really think positively about it. A positive outlook on it would be there are absolutely no failures. Every failure is just life's move on the chessboard, and we need to find a way to bypass that failure and reach our goal. You'll also see a number of famous people talk about chess and
right? The king can't die. The queen can die.
relate the chess tokens to different people, but I'd like to counteract that. I want to say that every token in chess represents our strategies that we implement, represents our moves that we make to get to a goal. To be more precise, I like to say that the queen being the strongest player on the chessboard is actually the strongest skill that we have that we can use to move to our goals. And the pawns are like our most strategic pieces. So if the queen gets stuck somewhere, we can make a move with the pawns and distract our opponent, distract our minds. And when the queen has no more obstacles left. We can use that skill to get to the point where we want to. So being the king that you are, grab your notepads, write down your goals, because I'm going to pave the way for you to strategize a path towards your goals using 4 principles from the game of chess, principles that you can apply towards your goals starting today. Alright, so before moving forward with the 4 principles that we can apply, we need to understand a few basic philosophies from the game of chess. So, philosophy number 1. Chess is a perfect game played by imperfect humans. And that kind of falls in place with how life is. Life is supposed to be idealistic, whereas we as individual human beings, we are not ideal. We make mistakes, we make errors. The second philosophy that we get from chess and can apply it towards life is that to overcome obstacles in chess and win in the game, we apply different strategies. Similar in life, we apply strategies and we move towards our goals, taking steps that make our lives more idealistic. And the idealistic perception varies from individual to individual. Mostly, the idealistic perception one would have is compared to some other person's life. And that's the factor that differentiates a game of chess from regular life, which is that humans tend to compare themselves with other people. And when we shift our paradigm of thought to a thought like not comparing ourselves to other people to make our lives more idealistic, and we just aim towards our own way of living, it eliminates the notion of failure. It eliminates the notion of being idealistic. So, in chess, our opponent's next move is more or less randomized and unpredictable. We only have control over our actions or our strategies against the moves our opponent makes. Similar to living, our life puts us into situations that are randomized, and we tend to adjust our steps towards situations accordingly. So what is permanent in the game of chess is the king. As long as the king is alive and in motion and in game, the game goes on. That too in life, as long as we, any individual, can be compared to the king, we lead our own lives, and as long as we are alive and moving and can take action, the game goes on. So if we perceive the game of chess and moving forward in life in this manner, automatically we can decide that the only winning is imminent. That is until the king is taken out. And in life, achieving our goal is imminent until we pass away ultimately. So now that we understand the philosophies of how chess works compared to our lives, let's move into the 4 principles. Principle 1. Pawns are not the people around us. Pawns are the strategies we implement to move forward. In the game of chess, a pawn moves 1 block at a time. And in life, if we perceive our strategies towards any goal, we start by taking smaller steps. And these smaller steps are represented by the single blocks that the pawn actually moves. The second principle from chess is the rook is not the people who support us. The rook represents the stability and the focus that we aim towards our goals. A misconception would be to compare the rook to a supportive structure, and we might compare it to our parents, to our spouse, to our siblings, to our close friends who support us during times when we're feeling down. But that would be a wrong way to approach life, because end of the day, no matter how much someone shows their support, shows their empathy towards you, end of the day, it's you who has to complete your tasks and pull yourself out of the situation. In that perspective, we can view the rook as a representation of our emotional stability, our cognitive stability, and our decision-making capabilities in situations where we're blocked from all sides. Additionally to that, the rook moves square boxes in a straight line. So that also teaches us a notion of having laser focus towards our goals. An interesting phenomenon is what happens when the rook is faced by an obstacle in front of it. it either cuts off that obstacle totally, or it strategically moves to some other corner of the board. It either moves midway past the board or completely to the other side. And these moves actually represent the moves that we could take if we are faced with any obstacles when we're achieving our goals. It would show that we're actually moving our mind from a situation where we don't have capability to think about to another task where we might achieve success in the meantime until that distraction is removed. The third principle from the game of chess, the knight represents our uniqueness and creativity. So ever noticed how the knight is either a horse or an L-shaped token? And it actually moves in a two-way pattern with a choice. So I like to see the knight as the skill that we have in life where we can apply that skill to unique situations and separate ourselves from the crowd. And everyone has a unique set of skills within them. It's not like they need to learn the skill from somewhere. Everyone grows up in a unique manner. Some grow up being shy, some grow up being very extroverted, some grow up not having to socialize with people that much. And some people grow up with like tons of siblings and they socialize really well. And so you need to decide what factor or what skill makes you unique and stand out in a crowd, and then use that in terms of your advantage. The fourth and the last principle that I'm going to talk about from chess is the queen is not your ex, the queen is not your girlfriend, it's not your wife, it's not your spouse. The queen represents the strongest skill set that you have as a person. And this skill set can range from communication to a practical skill like building dashboards with data analytic softwares. So in the game of chess, the queen can move almost anywhere on the board. So in life, you need to have a set of skills that allow you to traverse through different aspects. So say with this skill, you can apply to multiple goals. Say if you learn how to build dashboards and represent data, you can use it in multiple industries. Like you can use it in the supply chain industry, you can use it in the financial industry, you can use it for accounting purposes, or you can just simply use it for freelancing. Maybe you're good at communicating with people, you can join the retail industry, you can join sales. What this skill should do is allow you to move freely towards any medium. Ultimately, these principles are nothing if you don't execute them. And each of these principles might be different to different people. Some might argue that the pawn is the most important player in the game, and I think your strategies must be the most important. But the thing is, you're a different person, somebody else is a different person, and you've been applying strategies to achieve your goals since you were 5, 6, 7 years old. And once you're 20 and you come from the average household, you realize that no one's coming to save you, and you have to decide how you implement your strategies to life. Chess is a closest allegorical representation that you can use to help yourself move forward. And with that, hope this video gave you some insightful information to think about, some principles you could use to maybe strategize your next goal. Remember, failures don't exist. They are just obstacles on the way to achieving what we want. And you have as many moves as you can play until the king is still in the game, which is, if you're still alive, you can win any game you want.